Yo, Eagles Nation, stand up. Yo, how'd Barkley put it? Looking like another grease pole night in Philly. Facts. Hey! Yo, it's been a while since you've heard that. Fuck, it's been a while since I've heard it too. What's up? Any and everybody who might happen to be listening to this. It's the Grease Pole Podcast. We're back. Thank you for being here. I am Cory O'Neill, your master of ceremonies, your shepherd of shenanigans, whatever the fuck it is you prefer. We're back, man. We're back, and I'm live shaking the cobwebs off here.
Yeah.
So this is gonna be clunky as fuck. I have really no idea what I'm doing anymore. Some would argue I didn't to begin with.
I was going to say, I mean, not that you didn't know what you were doing, but like, wasn't it always kind of cobwebs?
Oh, for sure. For sure, dude. It was just aimlessly pissing in the wind and fucking hoping that it all works out. I've already sworn 9 times.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe we're in mid-season form. You know? I don't know, dude, but we'll figure this thing out. It's been... first of all, what's going on, man? I mean, it's not like we haven't been talking.
I know, right?
You know, for about an hour, but let's pretend we didn't. What's up, man?
I don't know if you noticed this, rocking a sweet San Jose Sharks sweater.
It looks good, man. It looks good. It looks even better in person than it does, you know, watching games.
Yeah, man. Like, I don't know. I've noticed almost every sweater does that because you think about like some of the ones we were relentless on, Nashville being number 1.
Yes.
How great does Nashville's look in person? Like when we got there, we're like, oh my God. And then I bought one.
I know, dude. And I want one. I kind of have like this new beef with the Preds now because I've started becoming degenerate gambler.
Oh.
And anytime I bet the Preds, they lose.
Yeah,
but
they have
anytime,
not been doing good.
Yeah, but if I bet against them, easy 2 points for them.
Hey.
So they're on the do not bet list in the NHL. So there's that, man. Yeah, dude, it's good to be back doing this again, though, man. Appreciate you. 'Cause we came over to Duty Programmed about a month ago, and you were like, "Man, I've got all this shit."
Yeah,
you know,
I don't use it ever, hardly.
Just hit me up, dude. And the Birds fucked around and found themselves at another Super Bowl. So it was like, hey, man.
Yeah, you got to get it back up and running now. Like,
yeah.
Even if they somehow pull this off and beat the unbeatable. Can we talk about the Chiefs for a second?
Let's do it.
Because look,
Let's
man,
do it.
I don't, as you know, I'm very not NFL guy.
And you're more sane for it.
Totally. But I was, flipping channels and I saw that the AFC Championship game was on. I was like, oh, it's the Bills. Let's see what's going on
Yeah,
here.
let me stop here and piss myself off.
And again, like the gear matchup is sweet, Chiefs versus Bills.
Sure.
Like it's,
Much as I hate the Chiefs now and detest their existence, including Andy Reid, because they flipped me on him too. He can get all the way the fuck out of here. Fumblerooski ass bitch. They do have sweet unis.
Yeah.
They do.
It's the league and it's the refs and it's
1,000%.
Look, man, I hate being tinfoil hat guy when it comes to especially the NFL. But how is it not?
Dude, it's hard not to be. It's really hard not to be because it's like at any point during a Chiefs game, you could point to a couple different things and be like, there's like, I mean, for us, for example, and we'll delve into the matchup and stuff here in a little bit, but during the NFC Championship last week, okay, I love my Birds, dude, but there were a couple calls that it's like, that went our way that realistically should not have happened. I mean, fuck, the refs almost just gave us a touchdown at one point. And So it was kind of weird. But it's like, my point is you're on either side of the coin at some point, depending on whatever franchise you are. Any of the other 31. The Chiefs, it seems like it always breaks their fucking way. Now, here's the legal disclaimer. I'm not watching every single snaps of fucking Chiefs games.
Right.
You know what I mean? But it seems like in a big spot, post Tom Brady, they get them all. They get them all. I mean, now, they got one against Cincinnati earlier in the year. It's like, I can kind of see that. Atlanta got jobbed against them, and I don't have that shit in my notes, so I can't remember exactly, but there's always some wonky shit going on. Josh Allen got that first down, and here's what bothers me. It's like, you can't, and Chris Long made this point on his pod. He was like, a lot of the calls are judgment, right? You leave them up to the refs. What bothers you the most about this one is that they fucking looked at it. They went and they gave it a review, and you think, okay, when they come back from commercial, it's going to be Bill's ball. And so I went commercial break. All right, it's time to go. I'm going to go pee real quick. And then you hear her and the kid react in the other room, and you're like, wait, no. No fucking way they just ruled the shit for the Chiefs. And sure enough.
And then you know what's happening.
Right. Then it's like, okay, so we're going to be able to hopefully get our receipt, knock on wood. Because that was the kind of dilemma I had, was like, okay, going into the game, I was like, all right, we got, in 2018, Super Bowl 52, we got our receipt against Patriots. So give me the fucking Chiefs. I want them. As we started watching the game, I was like, how can I not root for Buffalo, dude?
Yeah.
Like, not to mention Eagles fans, Bills fans, two fucking insane fan bases going down to New Orleans, a party city, for the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Let's just fucking burn it to the ground, dude. Let's go. And I started getting excited for an Eagles-Bills Super Bowl. And then, what typically...
Shenanigans.
Yeah, then what happens.
Yeah.
And, man... I mean, this has been around for years, dude. Tim Donaghy in the NBA.
Yep.
It's like, hey, are these things fixed? Point shaving and things like that. But I don't know, man. It definitely seems like since corporate sponsorships have now become DraftKings, FanDuel, BetMGM, fucking Caesar Sportsbook, all these ones. I mean, you have now so many different apps you can use to bet on sports. It's not even just DraftKings and FanDuel anymore. I'm a BetMGM guy. That's what I use because that's what Chris Long uses. And I have a man crush on him and do whatever he tells me to do. Yeah, and he also gives out a promo code, so there's that. Thanks, Chris. But yeah, dude, it definitely, since that shit's been around, it almost has a WWE-esque vibe at times. It's like, man, something's kind of off here. And I don't know, dude. I hate to go for the low-hanging fruit and Taylor Swift, because that's what every, water cooler in America on Monday morning says. But I don't know, dude. I do think there's some truth to it. I mean, she's going to attract all of the the Britneys and the Lindsays and the, that
attract
crew.
eyeballs. Yeah.
Yeah. That aren't going to typically watch it. So, I mean,
it's all about dollars.
That's what it's exactly. And I mean, what better avenue to have them at than at the fucking Super Bowl? And I don't remember where I saw it, because I am a bit of a tinfoil hat theory guy. I love a good conspiracy theory. And it was like, this one I don't very much like because it involves the Birds losing in a week from today. But it's like, yeah, can you imagine Roger Goodell? You have now on an NFL broadcast Travis Kelce postgame proposing to Taylor Swift. And I was like, motherfucker, I wish I'd have thought about that. Why couldn't I have been the first one to that take?
Yeah.
Because it's definitely...
Got that feeling.
Yeah, you can see it, man. And it's like, I don't even want to be hate on Taylor Swift guy, because I feel like that's such a meathead thing to do. But it's also... Like, I get it, dude, and I'm kind of there now, too. Because, like, anytime they show her... She's just, it doesn't matter who makes a play. And because Travis has had a down year, hadn't been great. He's kind of started to pick it up in the playoffs a little bit, but it's like, let's show her regardless of who does anything. And all she's doing is just jumping up and down. Yeah, oh my God, with her mouth open. And it's like, do you know any other moves, Taylor?
Well, that's not her fault. They need to stop showing her.
Yeah, I mean,
she's really just there to support her man.
Yeah, like, in theory,
stop
right?
showing her. I mean,
know.
I get it. She's Taylor Swift. You're gonna show her, but like, she's just there to support her boyfriend.
She is.
I don't know.
I'm not in a vacuum. I'm not mad at her, but I'm over it. And it's like that's going to be part of it. And
totally. Especially at the Super Bowl.
Yeah, because now it's going to be like, well, who else is going to be up there with her? I mean, I think last year was like that Ice Spice chick.
Oh, yeah.
Whoever she is. Blake Lively was up there at one point. Ryan Reynolds, Shorty.
Yeah.
And now it's just like that game. And then you have like Jason and Travis's fucking mom just hanging out, with Taylor. I don't know, dude. It's, man, Josh Allen for Buffalo looked just like a human Zoloft egg after the game.
Oh, yeah.
Like, fuck me, man.
Well,
how could you not be?
I'll tell you what actually made me stick around for like a lot. Usually I see NFL, I'll watch a play or two and be out. When they came out, I think it was at the beginning of the second half, the Bills just ran the football.
Yes.
I was like, oh, okay. I like a good run game, man. I'm big on the 1 yard and a cloud of dust. I love that kind of football.
Yes.
And nobody really does it anymore. Anytime I watch, anyway, it's always quarterbacks running or throwing the ball downfield.
Well, have I got a team to pitch for you, friend?
Oh yeah,
because you want to know who the best running team in the NFL is?
Oh really?
Yeah, my beloved Eagles, dude.
Wow.
Saquon Barkley almost
Giants fumbled the bag.
Big time, dude. And that shit is like a fucking meme now, man. The Hard Knocks clip. And it's like, you let this guy walk. You just let Jesus Christ travel down 95. And here we are now. And he came within 101 yards of breaking Eric Dickerson's single-season record, which is one of those ones you never, especially to your point, the way now the game is, that's like – that I put in the same category as like the DiMaggio hit streak. Like that's never fucking touchable now.
Yeah.
Adrian Peterson was the last opportunity we saw to break it. And now this year it was like, we've got a guy that can fucking do it. Holy shit. And the only reason he didn't is we didn't play him last game of the year against the Giants because you want to rest him for the playoffs.
Totally.
But it's like, there's that fan in you that's like, man, let him fucking
let him go get it.
Let him get it. Because it could only take him a quarter. But and that was a whole other conversation from about a month ago that God knows could have done well because everybody was talking about that shit. But then again, to that point, everybody was doing it. But we run the fuck out of the ball, dude.
So maybe I'll watch a little bit next week. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, have we had that discussion before? When's the last time you've watched the Super Bowl?
The last one
Do you remember
Saints, Colts? No. It was actually before that. It was Colts Bears.
Prince in the Rain, dude.
Right. That's
Fuck.
Yeah.
That was not a good Super Bowl. Halftime show was great.
Halftime was great. Game not.
Kind of cheeks.
Yeah.
I see why you stopped.
Well, I stopped because Brett Favre throws an interception. We've talked about that a million times.
Absolutely.
But so Bounty Gate was the first one I voluntarily didn't watch, and then I just stopped. Shortly after that, I just stopped paying attention to the NFL altogether.
Yeah, I'm out. Yeah, so what's going on? Like 6 o'clock Sunday.
I honestly don't know. I'd have to look at Kristen's schedule to see what she's working.
Well, and I'm sure it depends, like, what you're doing during that time, like if the Devils play. Like, if the Devils are on, I know you're locked in.
Oh, yeah. Unfortunately, I'm that guy this year. I've watched so much Devils hockey. And
it's good, though, man.
Well, yeah, and I almost admire Joe because Joe can separate the wins and losses, but I think it's also because he can't watch his Caps because they're blacked out.
Yeah, I know.
One of these days we'll get the other sports pod up and running so I can ask him if the Caps weren't blacked out, would you watch every game?
Right. It is weird, dude, because like I want the desire is there to watch every Flyers game, but I'm kind of on the same. I'm not as strict as Hot Joe. Shout out Hot Joe. But I should be. with the bedtime thing.
Oh,
because
yeah.
it's like there's definitely a cap. There's definitely a threshold where it's like if I'm not lights out by this point, tomorrow's gonna suck.
Yeah.
7:45.
7:45.
Yeah, dude. Basically, like, all right, maybe I can catch the first period and be locked in till intermission, but then you get hooked.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes it's almost like, you know what? Let me avoid it, and then I'll try to catch the replay tomorrow or something like that, because it's like that 2:45 a.m. alarm comes quick as fuck.
Ugh.
Yeah, it's gross.
Can't watch any West Coast game, period. End
At
of story.
all.
You know?
No, dude. And when it's 6 days a week, it's like, fuck me, man. But what I do sometimes do if I'm feeling super spunky is I'll cut it on in the bedroom and fall asleep with it on. So if I wake up, because your boy's pushing 40 now.
Yeah.
So there is sometimes you wake up in the middle of the night, you got to pee.
Mm-hmm.
That way, if I got that, I can at least kind of, in my stupor, drunkenly glance over at the TV and be like, oh, okay. And then go hopefully not get any on the rim,
Yeah.
you know, which is a challenge at 1 a.m.
Sometimes, yeah.
No lights on.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, dude. Fuck, a lot to get to, man. So it's been, I went and looked. The last pod episode, last Grease Pole episode was March 13th of 2023.
Wow.
Yeah, for real.
Coming
almost.
up on 2 years. Wow.
Yeah, dude. Last YouTube content was April 28th, 2023, the day of the first round of the draft in 2023. We took Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith in the first round. And you know a little bit of the backstory, dude. Shit's been nuts. And none of this, for the record, is like sour grapes. That's not what any of this is. It's just kind of like, hey, here's why the vanish happened. So about 2 years ago, my buddy Frank, host of the Unofficial Bengals podcast, give him a listen. If you're a Bengals fan, but if not, if you're a football fan, give him a check. He's awesome. And he was putting together, because this was at the point where we were kind of getting everything, you know, like we've got all this gear. So it's like, okay, well, when you do this, especially with sports, it helps to be able to, when something breaks, it's like, okay, fuck, if this is big shit, I can go jump on and just spit about it right now. So we were kind of setting everything up at the house at the time for that purpose. So we still do the pod like we were doing. And then, okay, if there is breaking shit, I can just like walk in the other fucking room and do what I got to do. At that time, when we're getting everything set up, Frank hits me up and he's like, hey, so there's this upstart network that's going on, and they want to have a whole ass network for each 32 teams in the NFL. And he's like, okay. He's like, I pitched you. If you're interested, they want to talk to you. I was like, okay, awesome. I like a series of lengthy phone conversations with these dudes, and they went well. They were good people. And they were like, all right, well, if you want to run the Eagles network, go ahead and do your thing. So I had kind of started putting feelers out on social media, finding Eagles fans that were either already content creators or Eagles fans that wanted to have a voice, and kind of just having conversations with those people looking to put something together to make this happen. And I was starting to get really excited about it. And then, as life would have it, we had to move, like, suddenly.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, anyone here that's an adult, or not even an adult, if you've been through moving, you know how much it fucking sucks.
Mm-hmm.
It's the worst.
Yeah.
Especially like, hey, yeah, no, we're out. We got to go like now. No warning, no planning. We're gone. So that's what happened, and it becomes really quickly, let's pack everything up and go. In the middle of that, a really, really close friend of mine suddenly passed. So there was that as well. We move. We find a new place. We're starting to get settled and kind of get everything set up. I make or commit what I've since started to refer to as professional suicide. I had a great situation where I was, the best situation I've ever had, and decided, you know what? Now's the perfect time to get fucking cute. Let me go over here and try this out. And wow, did that fucking bukkake in my face. Mm-hmm. Big time.
Well, I mean, it made sense at the time.
It absolutely did under the circumstances. It for sure did. It was the convenient move to make, for
Right.
sure. It was absolutely the convenient move. But then you get on the flip side of that and you go, you know what? This is definitely more inconvenient than what was. So let's kind of gather the pieces and regroup, which has been done. And now, shit's well on its way back to being, potentially even better than it was. So everything does happen for a reason. In the middle of that, our computer is now currently being worked on by the geeks at Best Buy. So we don't right now have access to that shit at the house, although it's coming back, as soon as they get finished up with it. So it's like, because then you have that, and Victoria and I both talked about that, because we're still together, people. Her and her photography, me and this, it's like when you don't have that creative outlet, man, it's fucking easy to get wrapped up in the shit.
Yeah.
It's real fucking easy, bro. Like, I mean, it's been hard, dude. And I mean, we've talked, man, and I've kind of become acutely aware of a really good friend of mine put me on to PMA through Bad Brains and the Cro-Mags and John Joseph and things like that, the book The PMA Effect. And it's not like a self-help book, but I don't know what it is, dude, but he reads it on YouTube. He reads it as like an audio book, and I'll have to send you the clips if you're interested, dude. There's something about that centers me. And, he was the front man of the Cro-Mags early on and a punk band in the 80s and shit. And like I said, my buddy Matt put me onto all this, and there's something about this dude. He's from New York. He's been through some shit. Just the way he talks. He's not condescending. He's not a fucking douchebag. He's real as fuck, and he's been through some shit. And, like, there's just something about him that PMA stands for positive mental attitude.
Yeah.
And he breaks everything down. And it's like there's something about it that's just like, it makes sense to me. It's like, here's all of the things. You ever hear somebody, like, say something? You're like, I've had that thought for fucking years, but I haven't been able to formulate it. That's what some of this shit is. You know what I mean? Some of it goes a little too far for me. Like, he doesn't eat meat, And when you listen to the logic in terms of why, it absolutely makes sense. I just don't know that me, myself, I can go that far into it. But I subscribe to basically everything else. You know what I mean? And it's all about just the vibe you put out in the universe, keeping a positive attitude. And one of the main things he preaches is find your passion, be creative. Because he was an artist. He did music. He's done screenplays. He's written books. He's done all this shit. And not having that creative outlet it's definitely had a negative impact, dude. Mental health wise and even physical to an extent. Like I've gained some back, and the weight tends to fluctuate anyway, I guess, as it does with a lot of us. But it's funny on the drive over here, dude. I was like, you know how it felt like, I mean, it's been a while for both of us, but like, you go to ask a girl for a number or something like that. And like, you have this weird fucking anxiety of like, well, what, like the first or second time you do it. And then eventually you realize like the worst I can do is fucking say no. And then I go home in the same situation I already have, and it's not so bad. Yeah. And, that's kind of what I had. It was just like driving over. I was like, man, fuck, dude. Like, is this going to be like, not because of you at all, obviously, but because it's been so long since I've done this. Like, is this going to be fucking weird? Is this going to be awkward? And I definitely think the first minute of me just trying to figure out what direction I wanted to drive this car in probably was. But now that we're doing it, we're 20-something minutes in, I'm like, well, all right. I wanted to kind of cap this at like 45, but I can already see we're probably going to touch like an hour.
Well, my fault. I kind of hopped in with hockey
good.
takes.
You're good, dude. And that's what like I mean, I tend to be long-winded anyway. Yeah. You know what I mean? I can fucking babble, man. So I say all that to say like it feels fucking good to be doing this, man. I appreciate it. I really fucking do, because it's like I don't know, man. It just feels the way it should. It feels good. This is a missing piece that I've had for a long fucking time. Almost 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah. It's nice to get back on the bike, like it's just like when you guys came over to do the episode of Deprogrammed.
Yeah, dude.
The three of us talking into microphones together. It's fun.
Therapy.
Yeah, it's very therapeutic, especially once you get to like those after the facts. And
Yes,
we
and
have
you
to
can just go.
and you start throwing like redacteds out and just, getting into whatever.
Exactly, dude.
And this has that same vibe, us talking, it's Eagles centric. If you're
Sure.
if you're an Eagle fan, this
Yeah.
is probably where you want to be, but
We're going to get there, people.
it's also two friends shooting the shit.
Exactly, dude. Well, and I at least wanted to kind of get out there kind of wild, because there was no warning. It was just vanish.
Yeah.
And look, man, I've seen the numbers. It's not like I was out here killing it with this, right? But it's like there was a little core, and it's like there was no explanation to them. I just had 100 subscribers on YouTube, which, yes, if there's people that'll probably scoff at that, but when you're just a humble fucking Eagles pod that's, a dude in his mid-30s,
Yeah.
not like a hot chick, hey, by my feet pics.
Yeah.
Like, hitting 100 subscribers felt dope. And I was like, I shouldn't be as excited for this, but I am.
It's cool.
Yeah, dude.
And also, considering we, had, when it started, it was just the two of us up in that one room at my old house.
Yes.
And then here, yeah, we moved to video, but we don't have the I'll use the word tools, but
Right.
that's not quite what I mean. Really, we don't have like the cameras to do the way podcasts are presented now.
Right.
We're just two dudes that want to make podcasts.
Yeah.
And
shoot the shit, make content, and be creative.
Right.
Because we were actually, I shouldn't say you were kind of at the forefront, because we jumped into RFR, but before podcasts were cool and what everybody was doing, we were kind of there.
Yeah.
And so it's like,
just a hair too early.
Yeah. Hey, welcome everybody.
Yeah.
We've kind of just been hanging out for like fucking 7 years over here.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, and it's funny. I was talking to Frank about it, and he was like, so, cause I did his, he has me on every year for the draft, and then we played the Bengals this year. So he had me on to talk about the matchup and shit. And he was like, so when are you coming back, dude? And I was like, well, our computer's fucked, and that was a whole deal. And I'm like, we got to get that looked at. And, we were trying to regroup, so we couldn't quite address that immediately. So once we got regrouped and caught up, it's like, all right, now we can fucking handle this shit. And I was talking to him because I started posting on TikTok. You can follow, if you're listening, Greaseball Podcast on TikTok, I believe it is. But I think look it up, you should find it. But I started, and I was like, I'm gonna make the effort earnestly to post like at least once a week. Maybe 2, 3 if I'm feeling like extra full of piss and vinegar. And I found myself not posting every week, maybe like every third. And it's weird because it's TikTok, like, even though I have like no whatever there, they do the algorithms and all that. Like, people would interact and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I was telling Frank about it. I was like, I want to at least maybe then I can pull those people to the pod and to the YouTube once I get that back up and running again. And he was like, you would be fucking perfect for TikTok. Your personality and shit. He was like, you should fucking do it. So I made like, I don't know, 4 videos.
Yeah.
And that was about it. Like, when we went to the fucking Eagles-Ravens game in Baltimore, it was like, hey, we're coming next week, And that was a fun experience, but I never bothered to follow it up. And it's just like that type of irresponsible shit.
Yeah.
That's like, hey, yeah, I'm going to tease this and then just fucking walk away and just leave you with an eggplant emoji. If you have one, which I would fucking hope you don't. Why should you care that much? But I did realize that like after the fact, because like as we're driving back from Maryland, I'm like, well, here's some shit I could touch on, because I won't say Ravens fans took a hit for me from that experience, but they kind of took a hit for me during that experience. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to fucking call these people out. Not by name, because we didn't get there, but it is the internet. Maybe it crosses their lap and they're going to fucking recognize me. And so let's see if something can come to this. And I just never followed up.
Oh,
I just never followed up. I was like, yeah, I'm good. Because by the time it really, we got back, and then it's like, okay, it's work the next day, and
yep.
this, that, and the third. It's like by the time it really registered to me, it was like 6-7 days later. And by that point, I'm like, it's too late. We've already played another game. Like now I look like a douchebag if I'm
Holding
going
on to it.
Yeah. Hey, guy, from fucking 12 days ago. Merry Christmas, motherfucker. Like, now I look stupid. And I didn't at the time because we won and he left. And so it was like, yeah, you feel like you got the mic drop, the pipe bomb, the CM Punk moment. And then you don't. So it's like, okay, that's kind of what TikTok's been for me. It's just very ADHD.
It's all immediate. And for guys like you and I, it's not good. Because the best thing that could happen is you do hit.
Exactly.
And then what happens then?
Right.
Like,
now I have to keep up with this. It's
right.
almost like pressure,
Well, and if you're anything like me, which I've learned that you are at least a little.
Oh, yeah.
Then you get addicted to it.
Yes. Oh, I have a very addictive personality.
So
look what I have in my hand.
Yeah. So then
I haven't placed a bet in a week, and I'm fucking itching, dude, because there's no football today. We're recording this, by the way, on the Sunday between championship games and the Super Bowl. But I've been wanting to fucking get on the BetMGM app forever. I should have because, lines do move.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, let me not. Let me at least wait until Thursday before the game, because then I feel less gross.
I feel like they probably know something a little bit better, and the lines are a little bit more solidified. I mean, you're probably missing, like, I don't know if you're missing the best action by getting
to a degree. To a degree. But I've found because I got buddies that have done it for years, and I've avoided it. And Clark does it. Clark's huge into it. He and I are firing each other bets every week in texts, and fucking we tail each other on certain shit. I steered clear of it for a while because I'm, to your point, I'm nothing if not self-aware. And I started to kind of dip my toe in the water this year. And I was like, okay, I'm going to just start by putting X amount in every week. And it took probably a month to lie to myself about that. Like, I'll put more in, And then, it's like, and I'm by no means like, hey, someone needs to call a hotline on me. All the bills are paid.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? There is fucking plenty of food in the house. Like, we're good here. You know what I mean? But I find myself, me and my buddy DJ at work talk about this all the time. Also, diehard Birds fan. You get caught up in chasing.
Yeah.
Because it's like, especially when you get so fucking close, dude, because I've come within literally fucking 2 yards, 2 Saquon Barkley rushing yards, or receiving yards rather, of being like, here's $5,500. And you're like, fuck. Like, it's a new way to devastate yourself.
Yeah.
It really is, dude. And it's like, you're chasing that high, man.
Mm-hmm.
You're chasing that fucking high, dude. And it's like, it's just another avenue that I really don't need, but it's here now. And that's what I kind of told her. I was like, all right, the Super Bowl is going to kind of be like, because I mainly bet football anyway.
Right.
NFL, college, here and there. And it also varies state to state on what you can bet.
Mm-hmm.
Like when we went to Delaware over Christmas, I couldn't put any bets in because they have casinos there. So you can't get on a BetMGM app. They don't work because it tracks your location to make sure that gambling is legal wherever the fuck you are, and blah, blah, blah. They want you to go spend your money in the fucking casinos. Go to Bally's, motherfucker. Don't be using a BetMGM app here. We don't have time for that shit. But you can go into a gas station, and we filled up the car while we were in there. Me and my pops went in, and they have bet slips. You know how you can go in fucking Wawa here, and they have goddamn hey, pick your Powerball. You can fill out lottery. Right. They have bet slips in there, so you just give them to the dude. I don't know how that works. I wanted to do it, but I was like, I should probably not hijack this trip just to scratch my itch. I feel like that's kind of narcissistic.
It also, I'm sure it's completely legit, but there is a sketch factor to that.
Yeah,
because like you said, you don't know how it works. Like with the lotto, it makes sense. It's like, well, they draw the balls. That's how it works.
Well, in this particular gas station was I loved it because it was very much, it was like walking into 1982. Like, bro, it looked like it was something from like Friday the 13th part 2.
Nice.
And it was awesome. It was great, but it's like, okay, this is going to be the one time I fucking hit big, and then who do I collect from?
Mm-hmm.
You know, is it you?
Right.
Because I can tell you probably are not responsible for this.
Mm-hmm.
And then whose door do I got to knock on or what have you? Like, I just had a lot of questions, so it was just, you know, let me just walk, let me get a coffee and fuck off. Like, it's okay, man. You don't need it that bad, you know. But yeah, hard left turn. Those happen here on the Grease Bowl podcast. Hit the subscribe button if you feel so inclined. I would definitely appreciate if you did. And off of this one episode, first episode back, if you've enjoyed it so far, give us a 5-star review. If not, leave a comment. Let us know what we can do better. Whatever. I never know what to say in those because I always feel like a dick being like, yeah.
Nobody listens to that part anyway.
No one actually does it.
Yeah.
No one actually does it. So it's like, you know, you feel kind of cheap. You feel like a whore.
Yeah.
You know, but I feel like you have to
But
do
you
that.
also kind of have to, because
You do.
on the off chance that I had somebody message me the other day. He just signed up for a bunch of deprogrammed episodes, and then he messaged me and he's like, hey man, you're a lot of work, because he downloaded Discord and did all this stuff.
Yeah.
And then he was like, I'll leave a 5-star, you know, on Spotify later. So it's like somebody does.
Yeah.
It's just not very many.
At all, dude. Like, I was looking at, because this is the start of a new RSS feed for your boy here, for us in the pod, because that was part of the network, was I had to kind of like, not relinquish, but, you know, because I ended up having like a subsequent conversation with the guy, and he was like, well, it is your RSS feed. But I was like, for as obsessive compulsive as I can be, I can also be like niche lazy. And I was like, that's a lot to go through. And I'm not the most technologically sound motherfucker. So I was like, you know what's easier? Just start a new one. And so that's what I did. And I mean, I'll sort the rest of that out later. You know what I mean? But it's like, for right now, in the interest of like, I just want to get something out there, let's just go fresh. So, and I was looking, and it's like, I think there was like fucking 9 reviews for Grease Bowl last time. And it was like, I mean, the pod had been around for what, like 2-3 years? I think 3.
Yeah.
And yeah, because 2020 drafts, right when we started this thing, because it was when we took Jalen Reagor and Jalen Hurts. Wow. Time fucking flies. About 3 years. And so, like, yeah, in that 3 years, 9 people thought to leave a review. So not going to spend a lot of time telling you to do that, because it's one of those, you're either gonna or you're not.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Although I will take the time to say this, that anybody who's considering it, it is very helpful.
It definitely is. It really is. And, you know, there will be more to come here, too, on this feed. So if you do hit the subscribe button, you will be locked into all that. Also, head over to YouTube. I'm just going to – I say all that to ask more of you. More content is going to come over on YouTube in the near future as well. If you want to go there, check out what has been done and hit subscribe there as well. I guess, man, I'll talk for a little bit about this matchup now that we got the obligatories out of the way, and like, hey, I'm still alive, everybody. So when you found out, let me just ask you this before I delve into the matchup, because I know you're not like a huge NFL guy.
Mm-hmm.
When you found out the Birds were in the Super Bowl again, your thoughts were blank.
Corey's pretty geeked.
Yeah, I was, dude. It hasn't, to be honest with you, it hasn't set in yet.
I mean, it's, you know, we had the Chiefs conversation earlier, and I know, like, you want to get it back. You want to get the win back.
Absolutely.
You know,
I already have 2 tattoos planned if we win.
but like, honestly, any of the matchups, but Eagles Chiefs, I probably would have watched.
I get it. I get it, dude. I know
it's nothing
this game,
against the Eagles, obviously.
No, I get it, because I know this matchup pisses America off. Like, it's almost like you always, every year, out of the Final 4 teams on Championship Sunday, you get like oppo of what the whole country would want. Like last year, it was Niners, Lions, Chiefs, Ravens, and everybody wanted Lions Ravens.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean Ravens would have been dope because it's her team.
Yeah.
You know, my mom's team as well. Like, and if I had to go like side team, it would definitely be them.
Yeah.
I always liked them even before she and I met. You know that. So it's like that's what everybody wanted. Then what did we get? Oh, look, Niners Chiefs again. We just saw that like 4 years prior.
Yep.
And then this year, it's like, okay, there's Buffalo. Everybody loves Josh Allen and shit. And then, especially living here locally where we live in the fucking Commonwealth, we live in commie country. And so it's like, and not just here, but everybody, I mean, you get captivated. It's like it's a rookie quarterback. It's a team that went from the second overall pick in this douchebag owner to within a year. Look what happened. Everybody wanted fucking Washington Buffalo.
Yeah.
And we get Philly KC.
I would have taken Philly Buffalo as well.
Absolutely.
Honestly, seriously, the only matchup I was not interested in is Philly Kansas City.
Yeah, sorry, bro. I mean, no one wants us here or the Chiefs, but I also, it's like people are so tired of Kansas City that I genuinely think probably everybody except like Dallas fans, and even maybe some of them, want us to beat the Chiefs, which is kind of a weird spot to be in. Like everybody's rooting for us. That doesn't feel right.
Yeah. I mean, it's nobody's done a three-peat before.
I know, which worries, but they started laying the foundation for that after last Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Like they were taking questions about it, like, hey, you guys can do this, and it's already like, wow, ink's not even dry here yet.
Haven't they been in like 5 out of 6? They
So,
weren't in Rams Bengals,
Yeah,
which was 3 years ago?
Yep, that was 56. Then Eagles Chiefs was 57. Niners Chiefs last year was 58. 55 was I believe Bucks Chiefs.
And the Bucks won.
Yeah, and then I think 54 was Niners Chiefs, or I had 54 and 55 flip-flop. 53 was Rams Patriots, and then 52 was Birds Patriots. So I am autistic as fuck with Super Bowls. So yeah, there's that. Where were we going? Because now I just had ADHD moment.
Well, so
we're full of disorders here.
Yeah, my point was like they've just been there for all this time.
Oh yeah, 7 straight AFC title games, dude.
And look, I don't watch a lot of football, so I feel bad throwing this comment out because I don't know.
Fuck that, give it to us.
But when I watched the Patriots, as much as I hated them, there was a sense of greatness. Like you were watching a great football team.
Thank you.
When I've the little bit of the Chiefs I've watched, I'm not seeing that.
Victoria tells me constantly, because we were sitting here in this room a couple years ago when Brady retired, and I was so geeked.
Yeah.
And she was like, yeah, you remember how excited you were when Brady retired? How bad do you miss him now? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, valid.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to say now because we're out of that, right? Mm-hmm. So it's easy to look back and go, yeah, no, that wasn't that bad. But, I mean, at the time it was. But there was more off the field shit with them. Like their scandals were more like deflated footballs and spying on practices and shit like that, which yes, are crooked as fuck, especially the Spygate stuff. But it's like, if you know how to CYA, you can get around that. Like Nick Foles has since come out and said, like, we're in Super Bowl 52 against them. The Birds would practice with like 13, 14 players just so if they were spying, they had no idea what they were looking at. They would run dummy shit. They would shred their playbooks every day after practice. So like there is a way. I mean, it's crazy paranoid, but it's like that's the level of gamesmanship Belichick and Brady had people at. Mm-hmm. With the Chiefs, it's almost like it feels dirtier because yes, Brady got calls. They changed the entire fucking game for Tom Brady when Bernard Pollard went low. Ironically, Chiefs-Patriots, when Bernard Pollard played for the Chiefs against the Patriots first week of 2008, and Brady tore his ACL the first week of the year, and then like, oh, we have a whole year of Matt Castle.
Yeah.
Without like, our marquee dude, this isn't good. Let's put bubble wrap around these guys here going forward. So that's why like the changes were implemented as aggressively as they were. But now that we're knee deep into that, it's like Mahomes in the sliding early just to try to get flags. And, like, I'm going to act like I'm going to go out of bounds, and then I'm going to scamper up the sideline for another 7-8 yards. He's also just, man, not – I don't know what the right word is I'm looking for, man. It with Brady, you knew Mahomes is great too, because his talent is objectively like fucking unreal.
Mm-hmm.
It is. But it's like I don't remember in games the Patriots getting so many calls in a small window to benefit them. Like, I mean, okay, yeah, there was the D Ford offsides in the AFC Championship game. I think that was 2018. Maybe not. It was 2019. Whatever it was, if you're listening, you know what I'm talking about. And that was, the beginning of Mahomes versus Brady. So Brady was still the golden boy before the torch had since been passed. But, I mean, this just feels grimy, dude. It does. And it's like you look at this Chiefs team, and to your point, the Patriots always had, like, if Brady didn't have the weapons, like before Randy Moss got there, the Pats always had a great defense because you had Bill Belichick, who is an elite defensive mind historically. You had guys like, Willie McGinnis, Mike Vrabel, Teddy Bruschi, Vince Wilfork, Richard Seymour, the fucking Asante Samuel. I can't remember all the DBs offhand, but Ty Law. I mean, you had sorry, vape. You had great defensive talent, and the Chiefs do too, but the Chiefs don't have as many defensive pieces across the board that are great, maybe, I would say, historically. The Chiefs do have some pieces on defense that are great. See, I mean, then it gets to a point where it's like you're splitting hairs, but it definitely has a different vibe to it. Like, I never watched a Patriots season like this Chiefs season where it was like, there's like 3 or 4 games that could have easily gone a different way with New England, and that is the case this year with KC. Like, they're not – I mean, they lost the last game of the year against Denver when they were playing all backups, and Carson Wentz, ironically, was starting for them.
Wow.
So, yeah. I mean, they're 15-2 because, 17 games now. Stupid. And it's going to go to 18, but, hey, player safety is what we care the most about here in the NFL. They don't feel like I feel what worries me the most, and we'll get to the matchup breakdown here in a minute. What worries me the most about the Super Bowl isn't necessarily it is Mahomes, yes, because of the type of plays that he can make, and it is the coaching of Andy Reid because he is a hell of a coach, and now miraculously post Super Bowl 39 he's learned how to manage a clock. But it's like it's more the aura of them than anything in what you're going to go against with them. Whether with Tom Brady, it was like that motherfucker cannot have the ball at the end of the game. You know what I mean? Do not give him a chance. And it is the same with Mahomes, but it feels like a handicap match almost.
Well, yeah, like it gave me that same feeling when I was watching Bills Chiefs of you can't give Mahomes that time. But what had to happen to get there?
Right.
Is the thing. I don't know, man. Like, again, I don't watch enough football to really say I'm not watching greatness, but there was something about those Patriots teams. It feels like I hated them for the right reasons.
Yeah, exactly, dude. Exactly.
I hated them because they were beating all the teams.
They're great, and you want to see them lose. You want to see somebody, take them off the throne. And it's like you think about all of these teams. I mean, you could say the same for the Brady era with, Jesus Christ, who else didn't win a ring because of him? Phillip Rivers. This is the era I grew up with. Live burp if you heard it. Apologies. I don't remember offhand because I've consumed a lot of booze since then, even though strictly social drinker now.
Hey.
Yeah, dude. Baby steps. That's going to change next Sunday. But yeah, dude, like the guys that are not probably going to win a Super Bowl because like of the Mahomes effect, Joe Burrow, dude. Joe Burrow might not get back.
Yeah.
Which is crazy, dude, because I was talking with somebody about this recently. Like, if you were to do like a fantasy draft, the entire NFL, you're starting to franchise like from scratch. Like, who would you take at quarterback? Give me Joe Burrow all day, dude. I fucking love that guy. And they had like a historically great offense this year. Burrow and all those guys. Burrow would have been the MVP of the league, but he also had an epically shit defense. So they missed the playoffs because of that. So it's like he doesn't even get in. You know, Justin Herbert, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, like those are the type of dudes that should be there. You would think. And it's like, are they ever going to be? Because there's this element here.
Well, and I think to your point, like even in Brady's era, they didn't go like every year.
There was a stretch where, so let me activate the autism. Super Bowl 42 they were in, and they did not make another one until I believe Super Bowl 49. 42 was the Giants undefeated David Tyree helmet catch. And then Super Bowl 49 was the one against Seattle where they did not run Marshawn Lynch on like the 1 yard line, and Malcolm Butler sealed the deal with the pick. At the end of the game, I'm almost positive.
Well, I know there was two Steelers Super Bowls in there where they beat Arizona and
43.
Seattle.
Yep, 40 was Seattle, 43 was Arizona.
And then there was
Bears,
Pittsburgh Green Bay?
Pittsburgh Green Bay was 45 in 2010. Then you
Bears
had
Saints. No, Bears Colts, I mean.
The Bears Colts was 41.
Oh.
Saints Colts was 44. 45 was Steelers Packers. 46 was Giants Pats rematch. That was the Mario Manningham one. 47 was Ravens Niners. 48 was Seahawks Broncos, which takes us to 49 Seahawks Patriots. So from there was a 7-year stretch, 6-7, however you do the math. From 42 Brady was there in the Patriots, and they weren't back until 49.
But I mean, I think that's the biggest thing is that, you know, you ran it down earlier that it was like 6 out of 7, whatever the actual math is.
Yep.
Like, something ain't right there.
Like, I wish I had appreciated the Rams-Bengals Super Bowl more at the time. I
wish
really
I would have
do.
watched it in hindsight.
Because it was like, it almost felt kind of, not random, but it was like, it almost felt like a Madden Super Bowl. Like you play a franchise and there's like 2 random fucking teams, and you're like, yeah, this never happened in real life. It almost felt like that because it was, I think, Burrow's 2nd year, if I'm not mistaken. And it's not like it was offensive to consider him being there. It was just like, wow, this O-line, though. And then the Rams were kind of like, they're all in, like, fuck these picks, let's trade them. And holy shit, it did work out. And I think I'm kind of sour to that Super Bowl because, like, immediately as soon as the game came on, they rolled fucking Dwayne out there.
Yeah.
You know, in his shrink-wrap T-shirt, and there he is making it all about himself, even though he was just a rotational D lineman at the University of Miami. Get out of here, dude. No one's here for you, and you're not synonymous with football. Please stop.
Yeah.
Like, he made it further in his on-field career than I ever did, that's for sure, so I'm not knocking that. I'm just saying get out of the way, though, dude. Get out of the way. It's not – this isn't
Dwayne
you.
the Football Johnson.
Yeah, exactly. This is not who you are, man.
Yeah.
It's just not. Please stop. You know?
Last thing I'll say about it is, like, are we really trying to say, is the rest of the league that far behind the Chiefs? And I guess that's my whole point in saying I don't feel like whenever I actually do watch the Chiefs, I don't – like, it. To me, it was clear cut that the Patriots were just that much better.
Right. With the Chiefs, it's weird because they do have, like, I mean, again, Andy Reid, for as much as I flipped on him because of Chiefs fatigue, it's like he's Andy. He's on, if he's not on the NFL head coach Rushmore, he's right there, dude.
Well, he's going to have to be at this point with this Chiefs run.
Exactly. And you have Steve Spagnuolo, who is a fucking phenomenal, excellent defensive coordinator. And because of who's under center, you're able to kind of cycle through offensive coordinators and have them thrive, whoever's there. Now it's Matt Nagy, who's a former Bears head coach. But so there is that element of like, hey, yeah, there's the coaching staff too. But there's definitely, I mean, if you were to look at, and it's not all about rosters, they don't play games on paper, but I mean, Baltimore, dude, it's like for years I've said they're the best run organization top to bottom in the NFL. Now, ironically, we might be in the conversation, but Baltimore, Buffalo's been right there, dude, for fucking years. I mean, it's like, there was like that one year where like the Titans were a 1 seed in the AFC, like 3-4 years ago, and that was fucking bizarre with Ryan Tannehill. But I mean, that was the Derrick Henry effect, you know?
Yeah.
That was the year he ran for 2,000 yards. So, I mean, I agree, dude. It feels weird, man. And at some point, you keep thinking like, and it kind of happened all year because they lost their best receiver like week 3 to a torn ACL. And they weren't running away with anybody. It wasn't like New England during that stretch where they would drop 50 on dudes with Brady and Randy Moss. It wasn't even like the Chiefs last year or a couple years ago with Tyreek Hill where it's like, here's all these explosive plays. Can you stop them? They didn't score over 30 points. They scored 30 twice against Tampa and Carolina this year, I believe. But that was it. They only touched 30 twice. They didn't break it until last week in the AFC title game against Buffalo. Yeah, and it's like, man.
Shouldn't they be running out of gas after going to all these Super Bowls and now like the last couple seasons have been 17 games? Like,
dude,
what is going on?
Right. Like it's almost like, okay, this is like the business, like they expect to just be there.
Yeah.
Like our season's not over yet because we know it's not. And I mean, I'm also throughout the week of like just trying to kind of process, because this is what sucks about like the 2 weeks without a game. And I mean, here I am as a fan, just a fucking dude talking into a microphone complaining. Yeah, how do you think the players feel about it?
Yeah, right.
And I don't know, man. It's like, it still also feels kind of fucking surreal, because if you had told me at any point in my life we would be in 2 out of 3 Super Bowls, I would have been like, you need to get fucking drug tested. And not only that, I mean, if you rewind it 7 fucking years, we fucking won.
Yeah.
So in 7 years, we're in 3. 2 out of like, it's still weird to me, dude. It still hasn't set in, and it probably won't fully set in until about, I'm not going to say this time because we're right around kickoff time this Sunday evening, but probably about 1, 2 o'clock next Sunday afternoon is when it'll really, right when I start drinking, you know, is probably when it's going to be like, holy shit, like, okay, and there is an element to like when you wake up that morning, you know, like, okay, whatever the outcome is, I'm going to remember this day for the rest of my fucking life. And you also never know if you're going to get back. Like, am I ever going to have this feeling again? You know what I mean? As a fan.
So I guess that leads me this question, which can lead you into game analysis because I keep sidetracking you.
Nope, dude. It's all. This is it. I could, if I didn't have to go to work in the morning, man, I could fucking do this till the sun came up. Nobody would listen because they would look at like a 9.5 hour pod and be like, yeah, fuck this. But I'm just saying I'm capable now that I got the clunky ass intro out of the way.
Knowing what you know, knowing what happened last time.
Yep.
Knowing, you know, taking into account what you just said, 3 Super Bowls in the last 7 years, including a win. Knowing you're going against Mahomes again. Is this a loss you take to heart if it happens?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because this almost feels. That's what I was telling like Victoria. I was like, it felt like, what are we only going to win Super Bowls now in in a rematch? Like, is that what this is? You know what I mean? Because it's like, okay, now we've been to 5 historically.
Right.
Super Bowl 15 with the Raiders was before my lifetime, but you have that Raiders, Pats, Chiefs, and it's like, kind of weird, you know. I mean, then again, it could be the Bengals, and both times you went, you fucking played the Niners. So I mean, there's that.
Yeah.
You know, what are the odds? But I mean, This it doesn't feel like if something happens here, it's got to change, because absolutely not. Why would you? 2 and 3 years, just like Sirianni. At the beginning of the year, I was on the bandwagon of like, this guy's got to go. He's got to go, man. He's a fucking clown. But that fucking clown wins, dude.
Yeah,
he fucking wins, and it's like, despite all of the bullshit, and a lot of it is Philly media driven, because the Philly media is bored. It's all the birds up there. And a lot of those dudes are toxic as fuck and just want to fucking, hey, I've got to fill 4 hours of my radio show. I'm just going to lob out, like, maybe A.J. Brown's unhappy here because he didn't seem like, he wasn't overly thrilled after the game because he didn't have 9 catches for 135 yards and 2 tutties. Like, maybe he's okay with just getting 3 for 24 yards or whatever it is, or 37 yards or whatever the fuck. Maybe he's okay with that. Maybe you don't have to float that out there, and then a bunch of fucking dipshits on the internet catch on to it, and then they refloat it out there, and it just begins that whole like telephone game we all played in elementary school process, where it's like, by the time it gets from this gentleman to that lady, it's something completely different than what it was originally intended to be, because it's not. It always feels like there's like underlying drama around this team, but I do think that's because of the market, because of the media. And there's definitely going to be like, if we lose this game, there's going to be like, yeah, get Jalen Hurts out of here. That narrative's going to be there. And it's like, there are absolutely times where watching him drives me fucking insane. There are. And if you remember the beginning of this pod, I was completely sucking off the wrong guy.
Yeah.
Because if there were Kool-Aid for Carson Wentz, your boy would have drank it. I pretty much did. And that was a Jonestown experience. But Jalen is perfect for this team. He's perfect for the team, dude. We don't need him to. He doesn't have to put the team on his back, because we have a fucking horse at running back that we can just give the ball to, and he takes it for 150 yards in a given. I mean, last week against Washington, they opened the game up with an 18-play drive and I don't remember, 7 minutes off the clock, and it was impressive. They converted 2 fourth downs, and they get in field goal range. And I guess like Dan Quinn was like, their head coach was like, we'll take the points, give us a field goal. So 18-play drive. And in my head, I'm like, I mean, okay, like we won by holding them to 3, but that was a fucking impressive start. 18-play drive that's something. Yeah. Right. And
that's the kind of football I like to watch.
Dude, like it was like, okay, fuck.
Chess.
And then first play from scrimmage, kickoff, they give we get the kickoff. First play from scrimmage for us, Saquon Barkley, 60 yards to the house. And you're like, holy shit. Same thing. They get a field goal the next drive. It's 7-6. First play from scrimmage, following drive, Saquon Barkley to the house. 2 touches, 2 scores. And you're like, what in the fuck, dude? And it's for me as a Penn State fan, I love it because he went to Penn State. And so when the Giants drafted him 2nd overall, it was like, fuck, man. Now it's like when Micah Parsons went to Dallas. Like, now I have to deal with this guy in the division. But now we have this one. And he's going to be, it's like Reggie White to the Packers. Historically significant free agent signing type shit. And I say all that to say, if we do lose, the last one, because of the way it ended, felt a little gross. It was like, man, we were right there. We were fucking right there. But I also, like, just playing the odds here, the likeliness of, like, in theory, the way our roster is, and it's young too now, like, it's fucking crazy, dude. It's crazy. The window is not closed by any stretch. It is wide the fuck open. But again, there's 32 teams here, man. There's 32 teams, and you divide them, there's 16 in the NFC. It's like, what are the odds that even we skip a year and do get back again? You know what I mean? So, and there's also weird PTSD as an Eagles fan where it's like, you almost feel not insecure, but it's like, you remember all of the years where it was fucking Bobby Hoying and Richie Kotite and having both Detmer brothers on the team at the same time. And you're like, you have that constantly lingering in the back of your mind, your enemy mind shit. And you're just like, pinch me. It's not fucking real, dude.
Yeah.
So it's going to suck, dude. I took the next day off work.
Well,
because of course I can do that now. And,
but that also feels like a win or a loss. You probably need that next day anyway.
Yes. It's going to be I just hope it's a happy recoup day and not I'm just going to like leave the blinds drawn, stay away from NFL Network all day. Cause that's very much me too. And that's probably toxic as fuck. If the Birds lose, like last week, if we would have lost to Washington, I would not have watched Buffalo, Kansas City. And that's childish. I should probably be better than that at 36, almost 37 years old. But if we lose, like, I'm done for the day, dude. I don't even keep up with my bets. Fuck my fantasy team. Fuck all that shit. I'm like, all right, who wants to watch Terrifier? You know, I need to watch.
Can relate.
Yeah, I need to watch Art the Clown take some motherfuckers to the Clown Cafe because I'm going to pretend all these people are Patrick Mahomes or Andy Reid or fill in the blank of whoever the fuck we just hypothetically lost to.
No, when the Devils lose, you know, I mean,
stay away from me.
Yeah, just, you know, I need to watch something dumb. I can't watch more hockey today. I can't. I want to be, you know,
locked
I want to be
in.
more engaged in more hockey games, but you know, sometimes it depends on how they lose too. If they played well, it's like, okay, maybe I can, you know,
yeah,
a call doesn't go our way. But almost always I'm just like,
palate cleanser.
Like thankfully I had this today after the Devils lost.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well now I'm going to be fucking around for a little bit.
Yeah, dude. It does help to have a palate cleanser for sure. I mean, the worst is, like, I would say the way I would equate it to hockey is West Coast game. You stay up and they lose. It's like when I hate night games, bro. I get so much fucking anxiety about night games because it's like, aesthetically and structurally for the day, I love them. I can get so much done and not have to worry about, like, because I'm time management. This part of the obsessive compulsive, and it's like 1 o'clock kickoff. It's like I've got a finite window because I not only have to. There's other things I want to do that have to be done, but I want to have time to sit down and fucking be on BetMGM for, you know, however long that takes. I want to, you know, consume all of the pregame shit and do my pregame, you know, autisms. And it's easier to do that when we play at, you know, 8:15 or 8:30 or whatever. But there's also like, okay, prime time, more commercials. Game doesn't get over until damn near midnight, and then that 2:45 alarm goes off. And that's assuming that the game ends, and I immediately cut the TV off and go in and fall right to sleep. We all know that doesn't happen.
No.
So it's like, okay, that's why I end up burning half my days off on, like, Eagles night games, because it's like I'm just not with the shit the next day. I'm just not. So don't ask me. I'm not, you know, and I went to my foreman and she is fucking amazing. Cool. That's what I'm saying. Like, all the pieces are falling back into place even better than before. I think eventually will happen. She's the coolest person I ever worked for.
Nice.
And come to find out, like, her brother owns the tattoo shop we go to. So there's that link too.
Nice.
Yeah, dude. It's like, wow. Small fuck, like, yeah, we know this guy. I've got his number in my phone. He's fucking cool as fuck. Like, it's cool, dude. So I went in her office last Monday. I was like, hey, you already know what I'm gonna say. She's like, I fucking know you're not gonna be here. Like, you're good. And she's a Commies fan. So yeah, she was a little abrasive, you know, but I was like, hey, come by for a shot though. You know, it's 2 weeks after.
Yeah.
You know?
You should be all right by then.
Come on, throw one back. Fuck it. Why not?
So, in an X's and O's type of, you know, conversation, is this Mahomes to lose, or do you think the run game is what gets the job done?
Man, so I think it's always, when you're playing Mahomes, it's like we said, it's a handicap match, right? You always feel like there's that aura over on the other sideline. And as long as you can keep his ass over there as long as he's not on the field. It's same as Brady in Super Bowl 52.
Mm-hmm.
The difference was, there was the last 2 Super Bowls we've been in, no defense. Super Bowl 52, they made the play when they had to. Brandon Graham, Chris Long, and those guys, like they got to Brady when they needed to, the one play, and sealed the deal for us. Super Bowl 57 in Arizona was the weird like turf thing. And I resist that to a degree because it is accurate. Like the turf was shit, but Eagles fans do this thing where it's like, because that was the year we had 4 dudes have 10 plus sacks. Like we had 70 sacks and it was a historic fucking defense in terms of sacks. And then you get to the Super Bowl and nobody can get home. And you're like, man. But the counter argument to that is, and I bleed green. I have my whole life. I love this fucking team more than just about anything in life. But the Chiefs had to play on that field too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like we can't. That's not the fallback there if you're looking for one. You know what I mean? I think this game's going to have a little more defense to it because, we can run the ball like a motherfucker, like nobody else. But up front, our offensive line it's the case for every team, right? If you don't have the guys up front, you're fucked. Look at Cincinnati. Mm-hmm. But again, to previously, that's their defense too. But this, I think, ironically, because I remember like Jason Kelce retired, obviously, his brother Travis's, and Taylor Swift's possibly future brother-in-law. And I went out after he retired last year. I got a fucking Jason Kelce tattoo. Like, I love the guy, man. Mm-hmm. I do. But you constantly heard like, well, you're not going to be the same, man. Your guy's retiring. That offensive line is not going to look right. I said, well, hold on, man, because you don't pay attention. You just like, hey, let me cut on ESPN and listen to what they have to say. Mm-hmm. Cam Jurgens this is his 3rd year in the system, in the offense. Like, he's not a scrub. He's a 2nd-round pick. Jason Kelce had a hand in picking him with Howie Roseman to be his successor. Like, we're not just pulling a dude. This isn't just a guy that works at like fucking Dietz and Watson here.
It's like, hey, man.
Yeah.
Come put on a uni.
Yeah. You want to be Invincible Part 2? Let's make a sequel here.
Only this time you're on the offensive line.
Yeah,
good luck.
Right. You're going to get fucking swallowed, but hey, you'll have this Disney movie about you. Maybe Mark Wahlberg will play you. So, to that point, though, Cam Jurgens, his back wasn't 100%. He didn't start the last game, so we had to sign Landon Dickerson, who played center in college at Alabama. We had to slide him over to center, our all-pro guard, and Landon Dickerson played center, had Tyler Steen, 3rd-round pick from last year at guard, where Landon Dickerson typically plays. So we shuffled the deck chairs a little bit, but it was still effective. But then Landon Dickerson comes up, obviously, with a knee injury last week, and you're like, fuck, dude. Like, so you have Cam Jurgens in the back. You have Landon Dickerson now, obviously limping. But it's like that line pride thing. Like, he's not going to fucking take him. Say he's going to fucking play. Mm-hmm. This is to go to the Super Bowl. And it's the same thing a week from tonight. Like, he's going to play. Mm-hmm. But that's where the week off comes in handy, because it's like you give these 2 dudes the chance to get right. And, if they're not right, it's one thing against Washington, man, because it's like, they have Frankie Louvu, who's a great linebacker, and they have a couple dudes here and there, but it's like our roster head and shoulders is better than those. And I do think our roster is better than the Chiefs. It's definitely deeper, but they have Chris Jones at defensive tackle, who is a fucking game wrecker. All-timer, dude. And when you pair that with Steve Spagnuolo, who is a great defensive mind, if those 2 dudes aren't right, all they're going to do is just shoot A-gap pressures all day and try to blow up fucking Saquon and blow up Jalen Hurts. And as much as Jalen probably played his best game of the year last week against Washington. And that was coming off the heels of getting a lot of like, I'm sure you remember hearing the term about like Alex Smith. Is he a game manager type shit? Yep. And it's like, I think it's a little different with Jalen because his skill set is so different. But it's also like if you can pressure him, he can get rattled because he's very much, and you can say that probably about any quarterback, of course, but Jalen Hurts has to be in a rhythm. Mm-hmm. If he's not in a rhythm, his timing's fucked up. He's not going through his progressions. He's not hitting guys the way that he should. and that's evident. And then it becomes easier to just, okay, let's just jam the box up and just stop 26. Let's stop Saquon Barkley, because then, I mean, if you can take the head off the monster, you kill the body. You know, the Greg Williams shit. So, I mean, I do think it's going to be, at least from our standpoint, the game plan should be mostly like, let's keep him over there. You know what I mean? Keep Mahomes on the sideline and run the ball as much as you can, but I don't think we're going to have the same success as we did against Washington. And that's not a knock on Dan Quinn, who's a hell of a defensive mind too. They just don't have a Chris Jones, and Kansas City does, and Steve Spagnuolo knows how to make the pieces work the way that he does. And when you get A.J. Brown, who's our best receiver, I think most talented receiver we've ever fucking had, when you get him on the right matchup, like they've got an all-pro corner, Trent McDuffie, and it's like last week A.J. Brown was lined up against Marshawn Lattimore, who was at one point a great corner, but like he's banged up. He is not at all the same player that he was, and Washington traded New Orleans to bring him in. And it's like you wanted to see us take advantage of that matchup, and we weren't. We didn't really have to because Saquon, but it's still like you want to see your coach as your team make those calls when the matchups present itself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you can leave that shit on the table against Washington. You're not going to be able to do it against the Chiefs. Like when the window's open, you got to fucking bust through that bitch. You have to. And if you see A.J. Brown lined up against anybody but Trent McDuffie, like that ball's got to go to 11. It has to, you know, and that's Jalen's boy, you know, the hurt season hat and all that type of shit. It's like if those two are linked up together, that helps Jalen's confidence, and then A.J. Brown's happy, so you don't have to worry about him reading a fucking book or anybody like tweeting out like, hey, A.J. Brown wants to kill himself and all that fucking stupid shit that they do. You know what I mean? And I think you've got to start fast. I mean, you don't know obviously who's going to get the ball first. You never do till the coin toss, but like you can't, if you're the Birds, you can't go 3 and out that first drive. And that's an obvious fucking statement, but it's the games where we've started really slow has been with the 3 and out. And it's almost like when that happens, it's like, well, fuck, what now? And the other thing I will say is, if you remember 2 years ago, one of the reasons why people were speculating that our defense kind of shit all over itself, there were no adjustments made at halftime. Jonathan Gannon, who was our defensive coordinator at the time, come to find out, he had already agreed to take the Arizona Cardinals head coaching job prior to the Super Bowl. So dudes were like, yo, what's your level of commitment? You already took the job. You already had the job. You didn't have anything to prove. Were you distracted? And I honestly don't know why the NFL even lets teams interview these dudes.
Yeah.
It feels fucked up, but now we're in the same situation where fast forward 2 years later to now, the New Orleans Saints still have a vacancy, and Kellen Moore, who's our offensive coordinator, is now seemingly going to take the New Orleans job. So it's like, okay, is that going to rear its head at one point? Is this like a valid PTSD thing here, or am I just like frantically overanalyzing because I'm trying to find any reason to have like a self-fulfilling prophecy on this shit? And there have been some weird, because I mean, coaches will typically, you go into a game, you script like the first 15 plays and you stick to that. And some of the scripts have been kind of not what you want to see. So it's like, I'll be very curious to see how we come out of the gate when we do have the ball. You know, what's Kellen Moore's game plan here? How are we going to do this? What's the script he's going to come in with? Because if he is the presumptive favorite to take the New Orleans job, that's kind of what was said about Gannon 2 years ago. And so it's like, okay, do we already have like a verbal agreement? Has he already kind of accepted it? You just can't put it out yet. So then it's like, okay, well, how distracted is he? And I don't know. I could be overanalyzing with that take, but it's like, man, okay, wow. To all the shit we talked about before with going against these motherfuckers, it's like, wow, this feels oddly similar. And that's where it becomes tinfoil hat theory guy shit, because it's like now you're pulling in the Cardinals and the Saints into this tapestry of bullshit, but it feels very, very similar. And so hopefully, man, the offense can do its thing and the game script doesn't come out and look like a plate full of piss. If you're Jalen, you can't turn the ball over, and that's something that he typically doesn't do. Although, I mean, he did have the fumble in Super Bowl 57, Nick Bolton scoop and score, and that ended up, any point would have been the deciding points in a game that was decided by a field goal. But it's like if you don't turn the ball over and allow that defensive touchdown, and maybe you take that possession down and you cash in, maybe it ends different 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. I mean, you'll never know. It's revisionist history. Right. But there is that element. Like, you can't allow that shit. You can't allow it to happen. I was watching, Penn State and the fucking Orange Bowl against Notre Dame, and it's like you have a chance to go down at the end of the game and win. And I don't remember who was calling the game, but they said, well, the one thing you don't have to worry about with Drew Aller, Penn State's quarterback, is he doesn't turn the ball over. 2 plays later, pick, game over.
You don't say that.
Fuck, man. It's like when they show the shit with kickers, you know what I mean? He hasn't missed a kick in 1,596 straight attempts.
Hey, man, I know that one.
Exactly. Fucking Gary Anderson, dude. And then he comes out and he misses.
Misses the one.
Yes. If you ever needed one in your life, this is the one you best make.
Go to the Super Bowl, probably beat the Broncos that year.
Yeah, man.
Because the Falcons have no business being there.
So
and then they turn around and get stomped.
Dude, I was watching, as a quick aside to that, I was watching
Chris Chandler.
Yes, dude. I remember. So it's like every year, and I think this is why I can remember all of these Super Bowls the way that I do, even ones before I was born, is because so that's kind of the filler that like NFL Network will do in between leading up to the Super Bowls, like on like Sunday or like random when they don't have any content, new stuff to put out. Like NFL Films does like the 30-minute highlights of every Super Bowl, and they will marathon those fuckers. And so it started last night, and I was like, hell yeah, I love doing this every year. I've seen them all a fucking bajillion times, but I was like, I cut it on, she's sick right now, so I slept out on the couch like a bachelor, and I was like, I'm going to fall asleep to these on. And one of the ones it was on not long after I like woke up this morning and got everything done and got back to the house and shit was that Broncos-Falcons one. And I was sitting there watching it, and I was just like, the fuck was this team ever doing there, man?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. They weren't supposed to be.
15-1, best offense in NFL history that year. And all comes down to Gary Anderson missing a field goal in the NFC Championship.
Yes, and because of that, Chris Chandler has tortured America in a Super Bowl. And I remember at that time, I think I was in like 5th grade, dude. And I remember even then being like, this doesn't feel like a Super Bowl.
No. I mean, it was clearly Elway's got to get one.
Yeah, this one's for John.
Yeah.
So right off into the sunset because you look like the mascot on your helmet. That one, and then I don't know if you remember, and I was younger for this. I don't remember how young. The Niners, this was the Steve Young get the monkey off his back one against the Chargers.
55-10.
Stan Humphries.
Yeah, man.
Why were they there, man?
Well, the AFC was like nothing.
I think, yeah.
That's because is that coming off the backs of all the Bills ones?
It was, dude. And I can't remember who they beat to get there because that was, I mean, dude, I think I was fucking in like 2nd grade for that bitch. So I was young, but I do remember vividly watching that game at, the house I grew up in. I remember it vividly and being like, yeah, that might have been the first time I said fuck in my brain. What the fuck is this shit?
Well, I mean,
they beat the hell out of them.
Yeah, 55-10. Either the year before or the year after was Steelers Cowboys.
That was a good one. Neil O'Donnell, yeah. And he threw that pick to Larry Brown, who, wow, did he cash in off of that with that contract with the Raiders and a Married with Children appearance?
Yeah.
Why are you here? No one's ever going to remember who you
Barry
were.
Switzer. We did it our way.
Yeah, with Jimmy's talent.
Yep.
Fuck you, Barry. You'll be out of the league in 3 years.
They haven't been back since.
Nope, and it's glorious.
It really kind of is.
It's so great. And they are a mess right now.
Oh, yeah?
I want Jerry Jones to outlive me. Because when he dies, Dallas, I mean, I hate them with every fiber of my being, but I'm not naive enough to think like that dudes wouldn't want to go play there.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's like, as long as he's pulling the strings, they're going to be a shit show, and I'm here for it.
But then the whole thing was, you were talking about game managers before. Dak Shepard.
Dude.
And he just got like fat paid. Why don't you just let him walk?
Fat paycheck, dude.
Just let him walk.
Like it's they paid their number one receiver too, CeeDee Lamb, who is great. He's awesome. But it's like, now, okay, do you have the money to pay the linebacker, Micah Parsons? Do you have your money to pay him? And where are you going to get it from? And they just promoted Marty Schottenheimer's kid. Old Marty Ball Seaman is their OC, and they just made him their head coach. And I like the hire because I'm an Eagles fan. But I'm obsessed with what Dallas is doing, because this is like, I don't want to sit here and armchair diagnose, but it's like, the fuck is going on down there, man? Like, is everything okay?
I need me some glory hole.
Yeah, like I know the answer. I'm just gonna enjoy this, because as you fill out this coaching staff, it's becoming even more hilarious.
Wow.
Brian Schottenheimer is his name, because of course it would be.
I feel like there was a Kurt at one point too, wasn't there? A Kurt Schottenheimer. I feel like
might have been
a different Schottenheimer got a chance.
I think so, somewhere. I feel like
Ball.
Marty had more than one kid. Marty seems like a multiple kid guy.
With a name like Schottenheimer.
What a name.
We had him here. Remember the Destroyers?
The Destroyers, dude. Yeah. I always
didn't go to a single game.
Nope, neither did I. I sure plan to.
Same.
But I don't know. I don't remember timeline-wise how that lined up. That might have been before I began the employee phase of my life. So I might not have even had the means. I don't know.
I can't remember the timeline on it either.
Yeah.
It was so short-lived.
It was very brief.
Yeah, 2 seasons, I think. And then they moved to Florida, and then the league folded.
Yeah, that's right. What league was that again? The UFL?
I think United Football League, yeah.
Jesus, man. We've tried that a lot, second leagues. And, man, sure would be nice to have one stick. It would be kind of cool. They have the Dwayne one now, where like the USFL. I liked the USFL. I mean, we did Gear Freak shit for it. I was into it. I tried to make it a point to watch their games every week. Now, the UFL or whatever it was, but they've combined now.
XFL with USFL.
Yeah, and I think it might be the UFL.
I think so. I think you're right, actually. And then they kept some of the XFL teams and some of the USFL teams. I didn't pay attention to it this year, clearly.
Neither did I. I do know that the Philly Stars got bounced, so it's like, okay, I have to pick a team, which I feel like will probably be the Michigan Panthers by default, just because that color scheme is a beautiful mess.
Yeah.
I love it, but who chose that?
Yeah.
You know?
Somebody in the 80s, and they were like, yeah, let's keep that.
Let's just keep it, because it looks like it looks like that uniform looks like the cover of the Huey Lewis and the News sports album. Like, that's what it looks like, dude. That is exactly what that fucking shit looks like. Hey, let's make champagne a color and put it on a helmet. That'll be cool.
Nice. I think the Showboats got to stick around too. Memphis Showboats.
You know what?
Even though they didn't actually play a USFL game.
Let me do some live research.
They brought them back, and then the USFL got folded into the XFL, but they got to keep their team. I think Birmingham too.
Why does Birmingham always get a team in these Bobo leagues?
I don't know. And they've tried there 8 million times, because they were even in the CFL at one point, if you remember. We were looking up the history.
Yep.
Birmingham, Alabama.
So
always go back.
Here we go. I've got the teams here for the UFL. Arlington Renegades, the Birmingham Stallions, naturally. The DC Defenders, that logo is cheeks. The Houston Roughnecks, which is kind of cool because it's like a modern Oilers logo. Memphis Showboats, Michigan Panthers. Here's the one where I go gross. The San Antonio Brahmas.
Yeah.
Because Dwayne just has to shove himself down all of our throats. And then the St. Louis Battlehawks, who, now that I'm looking at it, are in the conversation to where if I do pick an allegiance, it would be either the Panthers or the Battlehawks, because you know what? Football in St. Louis is kind of cool.
Yeah, it's weird that it can't work there for some reason.
It is. And it's like, I don't know. I understand if you're the NFL, you want to be in the LA market, but does the LA market really like desire you all that well?
I mean, clearly, like, what do they have? 3 teams again now? Like
they've got the Rams, the Chargers, and the Raiders were there at one point, but now of course they're in Vegas because since the NHL, huh? How about them being pioneers?
Yeah, really.
First ones to Vegas. Now everybody's like, yeah, let's go.
Yeah,
because now we got the A's in baseball going out there.
Yeah,
which feels completely disgusting. And then like Ricky Henderson died, dude, right afterwards, and I'm like, fuck, man. I loved Ricky. Everybody that was like of our age, right, loved Ricky.
What a ball player.
Yeah, like
because he played for everybody.
He was like if Vinny Testaverde was good.
Yeah.
You know? Because that motherfucker did. He played for everybody. But he was awesome, man. And it's like the A's are one of those teams. Everybody liked the A's, dude.
Mm-hmm.
A's were fucking cool. Side note, like as I'm getting older, I'm getting more and more into baseball again. I don't know if that's like, I think it's old white guy syndrome.
Probably.
You know? If you start watching Fox News soon.
If you start keeping score.
Box scores with a pencil.
Do-do-do-do.
Yeah, the little sawed off lottery pencils. I am geeked for that's a whole other, because our baseball teams, you guys got some money.
Yeah, man. Look, I can't complain because they got to the dance this year, and they definitely shouldn't have been.
Yeah.
So like I was geeked that they were in the NLCS.
I was so bummed, dude.
I wish they could have, but it all comes down to money, of course. And
Naturally.
There was no way the Mets are beating LA when Ohtani is like the big money signing in the offseason.
Yeah.
Like that it wasn't happening.
Right.
I'm just glad that the Yankees got spanked.
Me too, although I will say I never thought there would be like a situation where I would almost like not root for the Yankees, but slightly prefer them. The Dodgers are like
they're encroaching on that territory.
The Patriots, it's the Patriots and Chiefs, dude. Like the Dodgers are almost feeling like more gross than the Yankees, even more gross than like the Steinbrenner Yankees, because like the Patriots, they had a stretch where they weren't in the World Series for a handful of years.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, maybe we didn't know how good we had it, man.
I know, right?
We just like to fucking complain a lot as a people.
Well, see, I have the added I'm a Mets fan, so of course I'm going to hate the Yankees.
Sure.
So there's practically zero, even though you're technically right, there's practically zero teams that they would go up against that I would root for the Yankees.
And that's fair. That's absolutely fair.
So,
and I think I still was rooting for the Dodgers this year, but it was like I liked that the Yankees got fucking waxed. I did. It was funny that like, okay, this is the World Series that the league clearly wanted, especially coming off Rangers Diamondbacks.
Yeah.
You know, which I thought was kind of cool.
I thought that was neat,
even
though the Rangers won.
Yeah, I know. And I kind of was like, yeah, Arizona would be cool, even though they fucking cut our nuts off to get there.
Yeah,
should have been us, dude. But I'll let go of it
eventually.
Yeah, it's not like Super Bowl 57, but it's like, I mean, the fucking Diamondbacks, man, really, Jesus, dude. So now, I mean, like the NL East, man, it's Phillies, Mets, Braves. Like, holy shit, dude. Yep. Why show up if you're Florida or the Nats?
Well, yeah, especially if your owner isn't willing to spend any money. Like, you know, say what you want about the Braves. They make some splashes in the offseason for sure, but, like, they don't buy their wins. Their farm system's good. Like, they bring up good young talent. They build a team the right way,
and they're always there.
Yeah, you know, they had their moment where they weren't, which I was very happy about.
Yeah. How's that feel?
But now, I mean, again, we're talking. Last time the Mets won a World Series, I was 6 years old, so it doesn't count. Like, I didn't know it was happening.
Yeah, so, you're just kind of walking around.
Yeah.
You know, you're probably in bed for part of it.
Wearing a San Francisco Giants hat that my mom convinced me was like the Foxes. So she didn't know anything about baseball. I was like, cool, the Foxes, I like that.
But what's funny is, and I tried to explain this to Sean, because it's like there was an era where, and my generation kind of transitioned this, where like, remember like East Bay magazines would come in the, like,
Hell yeah.
when you got the new East Bay and you put that bitch, you folded it and you put it in your backpack and you went to school that next day, you were the dude.
Yeah, everyone's like, I want to look.
Yeah.
Nobody ever got anything.
At all. It was cool to pretend. It's fun to pretend. Like, there was a stretch, though, where, like, it was, if you were a fan of a certain team or if your team was shit, it was hard to get gear, man. It was hard, dude. Like, that's why all throughout high school, I had people that thought I was a Packers fan because I fucking wore the fuck out of Brett Favre. And it's like, no, but who's going to want a fucking Mike Mamula jersey?
Yeah.
They're not selling those unless you go up there and go to Modell's or something. So, I mean, they would have, now you can buy a jersey for any team, anybody on your phone at any time, because we have the conglomerate that is Fanatics. Yay. But, I mean, back then it was like star players.
Yep.
Or you got like that generic looking shit. And even then, if you lived out of market, like, you pretty much got what was local. Like, I remember I don't remember what store. It was one of those like late 90s department stores that your mom would drag you to in the mall against your will when you'd rather be at home doing other shit like masturbating.
James Way. I don't know if you guys had James Way down here, but
doesn't ring a bell.
James Way was definitely one of those stores for me.
When we went up to Delaware and Maryland over Christmas, we stopped in a mall for something on the way. I think it was like, hey, coffees, we got to pee, and let's go grab like a pretzel or something. And in the mall that we pulled into, she could tell you what mall it is because it was in Maryland. I have no idea. But attached to the mall was, do you know this name? A Boscov's.
No.
Yeah, that was a Philly one. I was like, holy fucking shit. We're in 2025 basically.
Yeah, wow.
And it's like seeing a Hills around still.
Yeah.
It's like,
or a Caldor.
Yeah. Like, what are you doing here?
How did you survive?
Yeah, I know those employees are just miserable because that company can't afford to pay them very much. There's not a lot of incentives going around.
You know what is still around here that always gives me those vibes? The rare occasion I go in, Roses.
I knew you were going to say that, dude. I love Roses. Sometimes I just like to pretend it's 1995 again and just go in there and just watch the fucking corpses just shop. And they have I know we had this discussion about like WCW wrestling shirts back in the day.
With people's faces on
their whole bodies.
Yes.
Not even their face, just the whole body. 3 shots. 3 pictures of them on one shirt.
Bro, I like you, Sting, but nah, not that much.
I don't want to look down at you while I'm in the middle of fucking biology, bro. Why am I walking around with another man's face on my chest? That's the type of merchandise I feel like they have. Like, dude, I love, because the card shop I go into is, right there in that little shopping center. And my dad would go in there a lot before he moved. And, I mean, they have like cheap shit. You can find little stuff, but I will pop in there every now, because the outside of it now just looks gray.
Yeah.
It could be a sunny day is rising everywhere else, and just hovering over Roses is just sepia tones. Yep. And it's like, fuck, man.
Everybody in there that works there just looks miserable. They're like, oh,
fuck me.
Yeah. It's like that, like a step below a Big Lots.
Oh, dude.
I mean, because everybody in Big Lots is pretty miserable too.
Yeah.
But at least Big Lots is bright.
Yeah.
You go in there and there's lights on.
They can afford their electric bill in Big Lots. I remember going when COVID started and we were all killing each other over ass wipes. I remember I stopped in that Big Lots on 17 that is right up the road from said Roses. Weird. Roses and a Big Lots, like a quarter mile up a road from each other. Go ahead, Yorktown.
Yeah. Get after it.
Yeah, you're fucking killing it. Old white people. But I think Big Lots enjoyed that because a lot of people were there. Because I was just like, all right, I'm going to try to find some. Let me go anywhere. And I remember I walked into Big Lots, and it was just like the fucking Tupelo concession stand brawl. And you're just like,
Big Lots, huh? Cool.
Here? I thought this was a safe space. I'm just going to go to my car. I'm not even going to go, like, look at the dusty shelves. I'm good. I'm not going to find anything. Yeah, dude. Goddamn roses, bro. How did we get here? I don't even remember, but it's glorious. It's glorious, dude. I really want to go there now. We have 2 roses in this area.
Yes, we do. One just across the Newport News line, I think.
Yep.
I mean, it is right. If it's not, it's like right there.
It is, yeah. It's yeah, we're thriving in this area, bro.
Yeah, man.
We're
The dump closed.
Did it?
I think they moved, but like that dump has been there forever.
I'm just glad we don't. Oh, fuck.
At the
But
dump,
if
at the
they've,
dump, at the dump.
I was going to say, if they've closed, then we don't have to hear those anymore, which I feel like is a win. But if they've moved, we're still going to have to be subjected.
I have no idea where they moved, so I can't verify that information. But
I wish to hell, man.
I know that one is no more.
It's like every 10 minutes, you can't have a life-changing sale. Stop.
Yeah.
Like, it's not, I don't even believe this shit.
Because that's, you hear ads for them literally all the time.
It's
and
constant.
It's always, oh my God, we rake these peoples over the coals to give you these deals. And then you go in, you make the mistake. We were looking for a couch not that long ago, and you go in and it's like, yeah, but these prices aren't great. Like, what are you talking about? What coals?
Right. Did you just want to get me in here? But what for? At what cost? Because I'm not going to buy any of this.
Yeah. Now I'm just looking at these couches, sitting on them. Oh, this is comfy.
Yeah. Now I'm just mad.
Yeah. I'm out of here.
I'm just mad and I want to fucking hurt you. Fucking, Trent or whoever works there. Craig.
Very not happy with his life.
Yeah.
Because he works for the dump.
Yeah. Also a Rose's employee or a Big Lots employee. Fucking Christ, dude.
About as far away from the Super Bowl as you can get.
Hey, it's all good, dude. It's all good because we're like a week away from this game. Genuinely, we just hit like exactly what would be kickoff time, so I'll be nice and lubed up for this one. I'm thinking, dude, and I know you've been away from the sauce for a while. I'm thinking of going Jaeger, just to get real deep in the shit, because so when I do, it's been a while, but Jameson is the drink of choice. I like to, have a little glass and sip, but the Super Bowl is not a sipping experience.
I was going to say, so it's shots. So then.
Absolutely, dude. Absolutely. And nothing feels like it's going to be more filled with regret and shame than the taste of Jaeger that just is here to remind you that at one point in your life you were 22.
Yeah. Hey, you just made a poor choice.
Yeah. You want to...
How about you do another one?
And you will every fucking time. And then you wake up in the morning and you see the bottle in the trash and you're like, fuck, dude.
Bad call.
Yeah, man. We had a weird night on Jaeger this past year, fantasy draft night. V's brother came to town, and me and this dude were up. I mean, it was like a throwback moment, dude. I didn't even. Every now and then, I will say, like, since I'm social drinker now, I'm not just bored sitting around the house going, "Yeah, how bad can we get?"
Yeah,
like the fact that that's out of my life, I am proud of. But it is also nice to know sometimes, like, yeah, I can still do it for a night, but it's also like you got to manage it. Like I'm at that phase now because I'm closer to 40 than 30. So it's like you have to plan, you have to get the Pedialyte in advance, you have to get the food. Doing it on an empty stomach, horrible idea. Did that at V's work Christmas party and then woke up the next day and checked the bank account and was like, what in the fuck did we do? Because that was a night she decided to drink too. And typically, as you know, she likes the hot leaf. So we were both drinkers that night. And apparently I decided after the 6 free drink tickets that they give each of you, including, I think, 3 that she didn't use for herself and her supervisor coming and sliding me more. after that, I decided, let's go to the bar and let's everybody get weird, you know, and woke up to like, wow, okay, $250 bar tab. What in the fuck? And like we got home and showed Sean the receipt and he thought it was hilarious and put it on. He was like, we're putting this on the fridge. I'm like, can we not?
I'd like to forget this as soon as possible.
This money could have been a lot better served elsewhere.
Yes.
You know, but it was, I will say, it was like we needed that night, dude, because we don't get those at all. So like it, and she works with some pretty fucking cool people, man. I mean, I'm sure it's like anywhere else. There's always a dickhead in the bunch, you know, but like, I don't know, man, if you did that with the group of people I work with, that would not be that fun of a time. You know, like there's two people I work with that I enjoy outside of work, and like they'll be in attendance for the Super Bowl next week. And there's my foreman as well, who like I want to see outside of work. Like, hey, come do shots. I want to see you fucked up. And she was like, well, you know, some of us got to work the next day. And I was like, well, you know, had you won, you know, I could come
just
to
a
your
little dig.
Yeah, I could come to your house, do 2 shots, and go home responsibly. But since shoes on the other foot, you know, come do shots of Jaeger and pretend you're a child again. But yeah, we're about a week away exactly from kickoff. Again, Landon Dickerson, Cam Jurgens' health, huge thing. I would think they'll be good. At least you certainly hope so. You can have none of that Nick Bolton bullshit, no turnovers. Although Nick Bolton down year for him, I would say Leo Chenal's the guy that you got to watch out for. Get AJ involved early, depending on that matchup. If he's lined up across from anybody except Trent McDuffie. Not Trent Richardson. He fucking sucked, and he played offense, so that wouldn't work. If he's lined up across from anyone but Trent McDuffie, get that ball to number 11. You got to have a plan when Steve Spagnuolo blitzes, right? The Nick Bolton situation, you know, it can't happen, and Jalen doesn't throw across the middle, so there's that. The way those linebackers are going to make noise is when they drop into coverage or when Spag sends them on those blitz packages. And Kansas City, this is the element with them that, you know, because they kind of held their own against what's become known as the tush push. Let me ask you this real quick, because it's you're not a weekly obsessive watcher. So you saw the play, the tush push they call it. What are your thoughts on that? As someone that used to watch but hasn't in a while.
I don't mind it. You know, I'll say this. One of the biggest things that turns me off from football just in general, and it's funny, like when, you know, it was just Randall Cunningham, you know, who was the quarterback on legs, you know, Dante Culpepper to a lesser extent, and then Mike Vick comes in. You know, it was the quarterback didn't have to run, right? Yeah. Now it feels like it's part of every quarterback's game plan, or at least the ones that I've seen. I'm sure it's not every, but like, so again, as mentioned, I like a run game. I like a play action pass. So if the game is going that way and you're trying to get that first down, like 4th and short,
sure.
I mean, whatever it takes.
Right.
But I would have hated it. This is the easiest way to put it. I would have hated it if Kansas City did it.
What's funny is they don't do it.
They probably hardly ever need to.
Yeah, well, it's also because Mahomes is a fucking bitch and he can't push anybody. Little dig there. And there's also like he comes up limping all the time. He should be a wrestler, dude, because he's always like selling an ankle, and then like he'll break off like a 40-yard run, and you're like, but
the ankle, brother.
Yeah, what's going on here?
What's going on there, brother?
Yeah, what you gonna do? When the fucking commentators just glaze you, oh my God, what a warrior he is, and you're like, I don't think that applies here. Yeah, with him in particular. Let's put a pin in that real quick because I want to ask you. We just ran through mobile quarterbacks. Do we forget about Steve Young because he was white and he looks like us? I mean, no one ever mentions him, myself included, because I didn't realize. I was trying to go back and think mobile. There weren't many. Oh, Steve Young ran sometimes.
Yeah, I think it's because the team was so good. Like the Niners were the Niners.
Valid. Jerry Rice, John Taylor.
And he had people to throw to, so you kind of forget that he ran. But he did. Like, Cunningham had the Eagles. And then he had that great Vikings offense that one season.
Yes, but yeah, with us, he was thrown to Fred Barnett, who was good, but not a number one, and Calvin Williams.
Yeah.
Not exactly Randy Moss and Chris Carter.
Right. And then Vic had the Falcons.
Right. Right. That's true. Algie Crumpler.
Oh, God. He had to go to the tight end a lot.
What a name.
Yes.
Who names their kid Algie?
Mr. and Mrs.
Crumpler. Yeah, fuck those guys. You're foul for that. That guy has to walk around with that for the rest of his life. I mean, he could get it changed, but at this point, that's what you're known for. You know? Brian Dawkins took his fucking head off in the 2005 NFC title game.
Running quarterbacks.
Yeah, well, I think to your point with them back in maybe we don't think of Steve Young, not just because he's white, but Steve Young was pass first. And, like, when everything would break down with all those weapons he had, then, okay, I'll take it off. But there's definitely now, dude, it's like everybody, especially with fantasy, because rushing yards are worth points. So it's like if you can run, there's so much. You don't have to now, but it definitely helps because it's like, if nothing else, it gives opposing defensive coordinators, like, they have to account for that in the game plan, the possibility that this is something that can happen. You know what I mean? So from that standpoint, even if there's a threat there, it helps. Like Joe Burrow is, I mean, I just, you know, an hour ago into this episode, I was talking about how I would take him over anybody else. Joe Burrow's not taking off and running, really. He will if he's got to get, like, you know, 5 yards on a third down. But Joe Burrow also has a plethora of weapons like Randall Cunningham did in Minnesota. He's got the best receiver in the NFL in Jamar Chase. So, and that offensive line isn't exactly the best. So, I mean, but if he's got to run on 3rd and 5 to get 7 yards,
it's kind of like Elway.
Yeah, dude, exactly. So, I mean, but everybody now, dude, pretty much is fucking mobile. I mean, like the days of like statuesque Peyton Manning back there just carving it up. Not really, man. Which is definitely different, dude. Very different. Like
there's a chess match that I like about a run game because, again, you know, I'm not saying anything, you know, groundbreaking here, but you got to inch up, and then it's on the coach to decide when to pull the trigger on the throw.
Yes, dude. Well, and I love watching, like, as somebody that played offense. I was an offensive and defensive lineman, like. When you're an O-lineman, dude, like, you want a running play every fucking time because you want to fucking fire off the ball and fucking, I want to fucking hit somebody. That's what I'm here for. But you fuck pass blocking and staying at home. I mean, it's more fun when you can fire off the ball and hit somebody. That's what you're fucking there for. You know what I mean? And then if you can get to the next level like our O-line does, it's even better, and get your hands on a fucking backer or a DB. So, I mean, It's funny, dude. I mean, the tush push thing has become like almost, it's a gimmick at this point, absolutely. And it's like, and that came to fruition in the NFC title game when the refs were like, yeah, no, we're just going to award the Eagles touchdown if you keep trying to Troy Polamalu this shit and jump off sides and time it right and jump over the line, because it did become like, and then it becomes a dick measuring contest between like Nick Sirianni and like Dan Quinn, their head coach. Like, all right, who's going to blink first? And neither one's going to, because machismo in football, funny, haha. So it just keeps going. And I don't know, man. Like, I like it because it's football. It is purest form. Like, it's me against you. It's how far can we push this clusterfuck. It's a willpower thing.
Yeah.
But it also does get to a point where it's like, okay, like, we get it. We know what's coming. But it's also like the team knows what's coming. Like, they can't stop it. They can't stop it because of that O-line. And by the way, Jalen Hurts can squat like a fucking Chevy Suburban. So not only is that line in front of him and he's being pushed, but he can push the line too. So
it feels like the way you're describing, again, because I don't watch enough football, but it feels like, in a way, not exactly like the Wildcat. Like, it's something, it's cool.
Degree, yeah.
It's cool to see it happen occasionally.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, is it's like anytime it does afford you like and this is the one good thing about it, is like third downs, you don't, if you're at like a 3rd and 9, you don't have to be as aggressive if you're Sirianni and Kellen Moore, if you're the Eagles, because it's like, okay, if we could just get like 7 of this, we can get the other 2 on 4th down depending on where we're at on the field. You know what I mean? You're not going to do it on your own 27, but if you're on their 34, fuck it, why not? Especially the way our kickers look. Jake Elliott hasn't been super reliable this offseason, so it's like, okay, now maybe it's worth it. Like, we don't it opens up your offensive playbook on 3rd down if you know that you can get a yard or 2 on 4th down if you gotta. You know what I mean? So there is a plus to it, even if it's not always, for the layman, the most aesthetically pleasing shit to look at. Point differential this year, I also want to touch on this while we have the ball. Point differential in Eagles games, the Birds are plus 210. Kansas City is plus 79. That's pretty fucking significant. Real quick, a couple of things when the Birds are on defense. Looks like Brandon Graham's going to play, which is huge because he was the guy that had to strip sack against Brady in the Super Bowl 52 to seal the deal. And he's also like the guy that, okay, is he going to retire? It looked like he was going to retire. This was going to be his farewell tour, and then he tears his bicep, and it's like, man, you don't want to see him go out that way. And then it's like, he goes, well, if we make it to the Super Bowl, maybe I'll be able to play. Fast forward 2 months later, here we are, we find ourselves in the Super Bowl, and they activated the window for him to practice. So it's not like a lock yet that he'll play, but it looks like he's definitely going to. And that gives you another chess piece in that defensive front that you can keep rotating. You can keep everybody fresh. Nolan Smith against Jawan Taylor is a matchup I'm excited to see. I absolutely love Nolan Smith. He's already set a record for Eagles most sacks in a single Eagles postseason with 4. He's been absolutely on fire, and he reminds me a lot of Brandon Graham. Undersized edge rusher, but watching that guy set some edges this year, he's been very fucking impressive. And when you can walk away from him, from a first round of a draft last year with him and Jalen Carter to complete, Jalen Carter is just a game changer. Best defensive lineman now in the NFL, especially on the interior, post Aaron Donald. I think Nolan Smith against Jawan Taylor. Jawan Taylor is a nightmare for Kansas City. False start machine. Never gets called because, of course, but he's a turnstile, and I think Nolan Smith will absolutely be able to take advantage of that matchup. And you got to, again, be ready for Mahomes selling an injury at some point. You know it's going to come. Don't buy into it. Just assume he's never hurt. Because it's going to happen. It happened in last year's Super Bowl. It happened in the game against Jacksonville leading up to that. Like, at some point he's always going to be gimped up. They are coming into this game, the Chiefs, with no Rashee Rice. We touched on that earlier. Tore his ACL earlier in the year in San Diego against the Chargers. So they're down their best receiver, which is good, right? Because now you have to worry about solely Xavier Worthy, who – he's fast, but he doesn't bring like that Tyreek Hill element. He doesn't bring but so much to it other than, yes, get that guy in space. He's not a deep threat. Xavier Worthy's not. So he's somebody that can be contended with, especially when you have guys like Cooper DeJean that can come up and make stops at the line of scrimmage. The other receivers, man, that the Chiefs have, there's nobody really there that you have to account for him because of who's under center. And I feel like that's it. Travis Kelce looks a step slow this season. He's kind of picked it up, through the postseason, because when it all breaks down, who's Mahomes going to look to? He's going to look to the guy he trusts without Rashee Rice. He's still building rapport with Xavier Worthy. They're still figuring out how to use him. You've got Juju. You've got DeAndre Hopkins, who feels like he's just kind of there to coast to a ring. They haven't really used him a whole lot. So you've got Travis Kelce, who looks a step slow, but you always have to be mindful of him and what he brings to the table. That third phase, too, is special teams, right? Nico Remigio, who just appeared out of nowhere. This dude, you can't let him pull a Kadarius Toney from 2 years ago. Dave Tube, the Chiefs' not defensive, but special teams coordinator, is great. He's been around. So Michael Clay is going to have these boys ready on special teams on that third phase. The Sidney Browns, Trot Jr., Jalix Hunt, guys like that. Same we touched about it, Jake Elliott. If you've got an opportunity, this game could come down to a field goal. And you know what? You're going to have to fucking make them, Jake. We love you, but for a guy that made a 61-yard and at one point was considered automatic, it sucks to see him struggle. But at the end of the day, if you're the soccer player and your number's called and we have to get these 3 points to win the game, You don't want to be the Scott Norwood. You don't want to be the Gary Anderson. You just don't. This is the strongest team that we've played in the playoffs. I mean, if you look at the teams, it's very easy to sit there and go, well, who did the Eagles beat? You beat the Packers, who weren't full strength. Jordan Love was banged up. You beat the Rams, who nobody really thought was a Super Bowl contender, but almost if it weren't for Jalen Carter, we probably would not be in this game. And then you got a rookie quarterback in Jaden Daniels in the Washington Commanders. So aesthetically, it looks like a weak path to the Super Bowl. And then you end up facing the juggernaut who treats this as a business trip every year in the Kansas City Chiefs. So thankfully, even though it's not an assumptive thing for us, we still have a lot of guys that are coming back from 2 years ago. So you don't have to worry about, hopefully, big eyes and holy shit, this experience is going to be too big for us. A lot of these guys have still been there. And the rookies and the young players and the guys that are new to this team, their first experience, your Saquon Barkleys, your Zach Bonds, are veterans of this league. They've been waiting for this moment, especially fucking Saquon, man. It feels like he's supposed to be here. Cooper DeJean, Quinyon Mitchell, I mean, yes, they're rookies, and they weren't here 2 years ago when we went to the Super Bowl in Arizona, but no moment's been big for them all season long. I don't expect them to get outplayed drastically in this game either. I just don't. Those dudes are already playing like 3 to 5 year vets. Same with Jalen Carter. Same with Nolan Smith. These guys are young. They weren't there last time, but they're years fucking ahead of their time. This is a deep roster, man. And even though the Chiefs have the advantage when it comes to quarterback and head coach, I think when you start to look at the way, this matchup stacks up, again, we know how this is going to go with the Chiefs. It's going to go down to the wire. It just is. I don't think neither team's going to fucking beat the other one by 2 scores. It's just not the way it's going to go. The Chiefs are currently 1.5 favorite on BetMGM. So there's that. I mean, it's going to be a tight game, people. It is. I haven't made my official picks yet. I haven't. I'll put those out on, TikTok or Instagram or something like that. You can follow at Grease Pole Podcast. Again, hit the subscribe button here, 5-star review. If you feel so inclined, if you do, it would be helpful and appreciated. And head over to YouTube as well and look up the Grease Pole Podcast. Hit subscribe there. Just simply check out some of the content. It's been about 2 years since new stuff's been put out, but new things will be to come. So I like our odds in this. I do. It's just that Mahomes and Andy Reid factor of the handicap match going into it, like we've said. But I do think, like, out of the team that even won the Super Bowl back in 2018, this is I could even present the argument, this is the best team the Eagles have ever had, the best roster we've ever had. So if there is a team that I feel good about winning, I feel even better about this one than I did Super Bowl 52 or Super Bowl 57. The only trepidation I have is that we are further entrenched into this Mahomes legacy thing, and what way is that going to go? Because you do always have to account for that. So reach out, let us know what you think. We're also going to try at some point, I think I'm going to try to start a Grease Pole Podcast Discord. Try to get a bunch of Eagles fans together and maybe start something up in there and see if that'll catch on. So a lot of things are in the works. It feels good to be back. Went way longer than originally intended, but I mean, I think there's been some stuff here too, man. I don't think it's just been incessant rambling the entire time. And even the incessant rambling, you know what? It's good content, man. It's entertaining.
If you're not new here, then you knew something like this would happen.
Yeah, and it's like, I mean, look, man, you can really go anywhere and get a full Super Bowl breakdown for straight up 30 minutes if that's what you want. Try to give you something different here. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So, and this is also kind of a, as reference, your boy had to work himself up to kind of get back into the flow of this. So 2 hours is definitely, we're good now. We're good now, man. So I remember how this feels, and hopefully it hasn't been a complete disaster. Let us know if you enjoyed it. Again, 5-star review. There's your to-do list. Don't exactly know when the next time is we'll be doing this. We'll be figuring it out. The point is, people, we're back. So follow on Instagram or TikTok at Grease Pole Podcast. Also have a Facebook page as well if you're into that. I'm not into any of them. I'm terrible at keeping up with them. But now that the pod is back, I will try to get better at doing that this go around than I was last time. So appreciate you taking part. If you've been here this whole time, Jesus Christ, pour yourself a shot. And it won't be this long every single time, people. Don't look at the runtime and get intimidated. It is what it is, first time back. So we will see you next time, whenever that may be. We will let you know. And until then, if it's not before Super Bowl 59 or whenever it may be, as always, go Birds.
Yo, how'd Barkley put it? Looking like another grease pole night in Philly.
Facts.